La sfârșitul anilor 50, Cuba era condusă de Fulgencio Batista, venit la putere în urma unei lovituri de stat în 1952. Regimul lui Batista, sprijinit de nord-americani, era unul brutal și corupt care nu se bucura de sprijin popular. Pe fondul unor revolte sociale de anvergură, în 1959, dictatorul Batista era înlăturat de la putere de revoluționarii lui Fidel Castro. Primele reforme ale lui Fidel Castro au fost naționalizarea a 40% din terenurile agricole, învățământul gratuit și reforma sanitară. De asemenea, toate ziarele și radiourile din Cuba au fost trecute sub controlul statului. Se vor crea comitete de apărare a Revoluției pentru a transforma, conform propagandei de stat, poporul cubanez în actori ai Revoluției sau pentru a monitoriza și îndoctrina populația conform celor care se opuneau regimului castrist. În 1960, represiunea oponenților regimului a fost semnificativă. În jur de 10.000 de persoane au fost condamnate la moarte și 20.000 de dizidenți politic au fost închiși. Iar în 1965 apărea Partidul Comunist din Cuba. Astăzi, la Omul și Timpul, vă veți întâlni cu un important oponent al regimului lui Fidel Castro, Pedro Fuentes Cid. Eram un adolescent de 16 ani când am decis să lupt împotriva dictaturii lui Batista și am crezut că asta este datoria mea, să mă alătur mișcării lui Fidel, spunea Pedro Fuentes Cid. Pedro s-a născut în Cuba în 1939. S-a antrenat într-o tabără de gherilă din Republica Dominicană, a luptat alături de Fidel Castro, de Raul și de Che Guevara. Dar atunci când Fidel, prietenul său, a trădat idealurile Revoluției cubaneze și s-a îndreptat spre comunism, Pedro nu a ezitat să lupte împotriva lui. Era dator să facă acest lucru, mai ales pentru camarazii care muriseră pentru Cuba. Și tocmai de aceea, în 1961, Castro a ordonat arestarea lui. Doar intervențiile unor șefi de stat din America Latină au făcut ca Pedro să nu fie condamnat la moarte, așa cum a cerut fostul său camarad de arme, Fidel Castro. A fost însă condamnat la 30 de ani de închisoare. Avea atunci 22 de ani. După 16 ani, în urma unei amnistii colective, Fuentes a fost eliberat în 1976, iar 2 ani mai târziu s-a stabilit la Miami. Despre coșmarul de a trăi în închisorile regimului castrist, în continuare la Omul și Timpul.
Well, it was the worst place that you can imagine. You know, I was in the worst prisons. When we went to the tribunal, there were 3 officers there. It was a military tribunal. And one of them had his feet on the table with the boots there, you know. So the only thing that they asked me there, Pedro Fuentes Cid, I stood up and he said, you know these people here? And I said, no, I don't know anybody here. He said, how can you tell me that you don't know anybody here when this guy, Alfredo Sanchez, was driving the car when we arrested you? And I said, well, yes, I know Alfredo. I know Alfredo. Well, in that trial, they gave us a 60-year sentence. 30 years in prison and 30 consecutive years without a civil right. Okay? You know when I finished my sentence? Last year, 27th of September, 2021.
the 30-year period.
I finished my 60-year sentence.
60.
So finally, I went to Venezuela, and there I asked Carlos Andrés Pérez to see if they would let the Cuban political prisoners come to Venezuela, because the United States was only giving like 1,000 visas per year for political prisoners, Cuban ex-political prisoners, and there were 20,000 of us. So it was going to take 20 years. You know, what did the United States want? They wanted us to rebel again and to create problems. And the Cuban government at that time, and for the first time and the only time, their interests and our interests coincided. They wanted us to leave Cuba, and we wanted to leave Cuba and join our families. Well, at the beginning, I read a lot. I read a lot of books.
What?
I read, in 16 years, you know, thousands of books, because we managed to get some books in, and then later on, they established what they call Plan Camilo Cienfuegos, which was a forced labor plan. Then they took us out, and we had to do forced labor. I remember, you know, the food was very poor. The food that they gave us was horrible. Horrible. It was like unbelievably bad. And when we started the Plan Camilo Cienfuegos, I got a hold of a survival manual. A survival manual, which said, among other things, that everything in nature was edible. Everything, except a few things, you know, that were toxic and not good, but everything else was edible. So we used to go to work every day. I remember, you know, that one day I imagined that maybe he said, you know, this is worse than the Holocaust. This is worse than the Holocaust. We were marching very early in the morning after getting beatings from the guards, beatings with bayonets, to go to put us on trucks to take us to the fields, surrounded by guards, and to cut grass, to pick up things, you know, fruits in the fields, to do different kinds of forced labor. They took me the first day to the stone quarry. And they gave me a hammer that was like a 30-pound hammer, very, very heavy. When they gave it to me, it almost fell. So, you know, I was like 40 pounds less than I am now with the same height. 40 pounds less. I was skinny. So they gave me that hammer, and then they put me in front of a stone that was taller than me. I said, okay, you have to break that stone in little pieces. And then there were two guards behind me with bayonets, very close, watching me. But I had a guardian angel. This other prisoner that was there, I think he worked in the stone quarries, came over to where I was, and he said, listen, don't worry about it. He gave me 2 gloves. And he said, with this, you clean the stone. The stone has, if you see a line in the stone, that's where you have to hit with a hammer. Okay? That's where you have to hit with a hammer. Let's see. So he cleaned it, and he told the guards, wait, it's gonna be okay. He told the guards that were behind. So he cleaned there, and he said, okay, here is the line. Hit it. So I took the hammer, and pow, I hit it the first time, and he said, no, 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 no. You have to hit it harder, harder. I said, okay. So with all my might, I went, and the stone went up and up. Made a very weird noise and opened up. So I said, perfect, because then the stone in the inside was very clean, of course, and then you could see the line very well, and then I started hitting those lines and breaking the stone. I used to bring, I had a plate, you know, the plate that you hang here, and then in the early morning, I used to get some little pieces of grass, the ones that were upper pieces of grass. And I put it on my plate, put a little water, a little salt, and then ate that. Right. I ate flowers. Flowers are very good for you. Yes. And then I ate, you know, like I found a snake once. I found a snake, and I killed it, and then we cooked it inside the prison. And it was delicious. Yeah. Very nice. The first time that I saw him, when I was a kid, 17 years old, Fidel. Like he was not a human being. That's what I felt. Very weird. But then later on, he was like a monster. He was like a dictator, you know. These people have been the worst dictators in Latin America. They have spread the terror to other countries. He was always talking and making speeches and talking lies and all the time and saying, oh, by next year, we're going to export this, chicken. And in 4 years, we're going to be the richest country in Latin America. And by the year so-and-so, you know, we're going to do this and do that. And it was all lies. I mean, they have turned the country into the poorest country, one of the poorest countries in the world. We're poorer than Haiti, which was considered to be the poorest country in all the Americas. Well, with me, he was not bad. Invited me to his house when they created the Asociación de Jóvenes Rebeldes, and Aleida, his wife, was in a rocking chair with her little baby girl, you know, there. And then check him out, and he had a big smile in his face, and he said, hello, Pedro, how are you? And, you know, he said hello to everybody else that was there. He says, yeah, like you all know, we're going to create the Asociación de Jóvenes Rebeldes, the Association of Rebel Youth, and you guys are going to be the people directing this. So I congratulate you for this, because this is an honor. He said that. So he was okay. And then later on, when they were asking for the death penalty, when they wanted to shoot me by firing squad, my father-in-law told my wife, my ex-wife, that he had intervened in my favor with Fidel, so they wouldn't shoot me. And maybe Fidel himself didn't have the idea exactly to shoot me. I don't know. But they were shooting people at that time for things that were much less than, I mean, I was in La Cabaña prison, for example, for a year, waiting for my trial. In that year, they shot approximately 350 people We heard all the shootings from our barracks because the firing squads were shooting people very near. The paredón, they call it, was very near our barracks. La Cabaña is an ancient fortress built by the Spanish a long time ago, after the English invasion of Havana. We used to hear all these shootings, you know. We heard the engine of the car to come and pick up the person that they were going to shoot. We heard the engine in the night. They put him on that car, those cars. Then they put him down in the paredón, and we heard the people talking because there were a lot of people invited to see the shootings. You know, like if it was something nice to see.
Yeah.
And then we heard the noise of the people there. Sometimes they were singing, and sometimes they were crying or saying things like, like shouting slogans. And then we heard the preparen, apunten, fuego, and then the persons, most of the persons that they shot, would say, Viva Cuba Libre, Viva Cristo Rey, long live Cuba, long live, Viva Christ the King, Viva Cristo Rey, and then shot. And then we heard when they gave him the coup de grace, you know, shot him in the head, and then they put him in a wooden box with 7 nails. We heard that. 7 nails, boom, 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 in the box. They shot 300 and some people. And I was waiting for my for my time when they were going to shoot me, you know. I was put in what they call la capilla. That's where they put the people that they were going to shoot by firing squad, by punishment. They sent me there because they counted us twice every day. We had to come out of the barrack, and they went 1, 2, 3, you know, they counted everybody. So somebody had told me a joke inside the barrack. So when I came out, I was smiling, you know. I like to smile, I like to laugh. So I came out smiling. And the guard there said, what are you smiling about? And I said, well, because they told me a joke here. He said, that's lack of respect. Put here, I'm going to take you to punishment cell. And then I said, oh, well, okay. So they took me to La Capilla, which is where they kept people that they were going to shoot. They opened up one capilla, they put me in there, and when they put me in there was somebody on the floor. And my eye, that was very dark, you know. So I started looking, and when my eyes got accustomed to the darkness, I said, listen, is there somebody there? And the guy said, yes. They said, well, okay, what's your name? My name is Pedro. How are you? And he said, well, listen, my name is so-and-so. Well, what are you doing there? He said, I am here on a hunger strike because they accuse me of being a counter-revolutionary. I am from Dominican Republic, and I am communist. And they accuse me of being a counter-revolutionary, and here I am on a hunger strike. And I said, you're on a hunger strike? Wow, that's terrible. So then they brought me the first meals. And the meals that they served there, that in the punishment cells, were the same meals that the guards ate. So the food was much better there than it was inside, in the barracks. So, you know, when the first meal came, and the guy said, no, I'm not eating. I remember it was Russian meat, these cans of Russian meat that I liked. It was good. So the guy said, no, I don't want it. And I said, wait a minute, They go, sir, would you mind if I, in front of the guard, eat your meat? Would it be okay with you? And he said, yes, but it has to be in front of the guard. He said, okay, thank you. So then I ate my meat, and I ate the meat of the guy that was on a hunger strike. So it was fine. It was great. So I stayed there like for a week, and I think I gained weight, you know. When they took me back to the barrack where I was in, it was like a real punishment to go back. So anyway, I spent those 16 years there. There was an amnesty, and I was in a barrack that was, I don't know how many people it had, like maybe 200 people, and they started releasing everybody in the amnesty. And I was the last one that they called. One day they go, Pedro Fuentes, sit? And I said, yes. He says, okay, come here. So I got out there, and when I got there, then the guy said, listen, we have called you here because we have very bad news for you. Okay, and what news do you have? Says, we have apprehended some guy that infiltrated himself, and he said that you were his contact here in Cuba. And this time, Mr. Fuentes said, we're not going to give you a long sentence. We're going to really shoot you by firing squad. So we want you to know that, okay? And I said, you want to shoot me? And the guy said, yes. I said, okay, let's go. You want to shoot me now? And the guy said, started smiling, you know. He started laughing. Cuba is no longer even communist, I can say. You know, it's just like a mafia governing there. They're stealing money. Corruption is rampant. I mean, it's rampant. It's unbelievable, the corruption there. If somebody goes to a hospital and they don't pay the doctors, they don't pay there, you know, the money, you don't get anything. You don't get the right attention. But if you have money, you can get the best doctors, you can get this, you can get that, but it's going to cost you money. You're going to have hundreds of dollars to pay for the medical attention that it was supposed to be free. The people are going hungry, okay? The Cubans are shorter now because of lack of food. Some of them lose the vision because they don't have enough protein. They don't eat enough protein. A discovery was made by a scientist, you know, there that I know, Pedro Castro, discovered that people were going blind because we're not eating enough protein. Just imagine that your kids wake up in the morning and they want to eat. And they say, Mommy, I'm hungry. And then you have to go out and look for food, and you can't find any food. And you see a very long line. And you get on the line, you know, because maybe they're going to give you a little piece of bread. People are looking in the trash cans of the hotel. A hotel like this, for example, they go to the trash cans and they start looking, digging to find food there. Yeah, it's very simple. These people, they don't know how to govern. They are very inefficient. Fidel Castro was always a very inefficient person, okay? Always. And he was always very jealous of others that were much more efficient than he was. The leaders of the revolution right now are living like kings. They're living in the houses of the people that were rich. They're getting a lot of money in businesses that they're doing, you know, different kind of businesses with the Venezuelans and the Russians, you know, and then they're sending the money to different places, banks in Europe, we had a summit of Cuban living in Europe a few months ago, and in Brussels. And there I met a lot of Cubans from different parts of Europe, living in different parts of Europe, like 11 countries in Europe, Germany, Italy, and they all knew of Cubans from the governing mafia that were making investments in these countries. And they had all sent their children, their kids, their sons, their daughters, were living in those in these places in Europe, because they know that they cannot stay there forever, because the people are rebelling. The Cuban people have said, basta, enough. They are rebelling. The 21st of July, you know the story. The people were out marching spontaneously. Nobody organized this. Marching and asking patria o vida, patria y vida, patria y vida, instead of patria o muerte, like the communists say, like Fidel Castro said. I saw Gorbachev in, where was it, in Prague, at a Hilton hotel, the old Hilton. They have two Hilton hotels in Prague, the old Hilton, he was there. Gorbachev was a person that did great things, no doubt about. But right now, some things have come out, you know, about his life, that some good, some not so good. He was just a human being, you know, that was different from the others, and did some good things to change the status quo of Russia. Like, for example, they changed the status quo here in Romania, okay? They eliminated Ceausescu and his wife, and then they started this marvelous country that you have now. Fantastic country. They did that in the Czech Republic, which was Czechoslovakia first, and then the Czechs divorced the Slovaks.
Pentru a înțelege mai bine ce s-a întâmplat în insula sud-americană, în plin război rece, va trebui să înțelegem care erau relațiile dintre Cuba și Statele Unite imediat după venirea lui Castro la putere. După cum era de așteptat, gesturile radicale ale lui Fidel Castro de a naționaliza mai multe companii americane aflate pe teritoriul Cubei au atras sancțiuni economice și politice drastice din partea nord-americanilor. În aprilie 1961, un comando de dizidenți cubanezi, refugiați în Florida, a debarcat în Golful Porcilor din Cuba, operațiune susținută de Statele Unite. Ei contau pe o revoltă a populației împotriva regimului lui Castro, ceea ce nu s-a întâmplat. Ca răspuns la acest atac, Cuba s-a declarat aliata URSS. În 1962, Statele Unite au anunțat încetarea relațiilor diplomatice și au impus un embargo împotriva Cubei. În octombrie 1962, în plin război rece, când tensiunile dintre Statele Unite și Cuba erau la apogeu, insula a jucat un rol central în conflictul americano-sovietic. Cuba a autorizat instalarea de rachete sovietice pe teritoriul său, amenințând astfel Statele Unite ale Americii. Acestea din urmă organizează o blocadă navală în jurul Cubei pentru a izola flota sovietică. Războiul nuclear pare iminent, iar Uniunea Sovietică își va retrage rachetele din Cuba doar dacă SUA promit că nu vor ataca insula. Aceste conflicte politice au avut consecințe economice grele asupra populației cubaneze. În timp ce Fidel Castro a declarat Cuba drept un stat comunist care apăra popoarele asuprite de imperialismul american, peste 1 milion de cubanezi și-au părăsit țara în perioada 1960-2015, solicitând azil politic în Statele Unite.
was in prison then, and I remember that that day they took us out of the prison in Isle of Pines, and when we came in, they were beating each prisoner, beating them up. When they started beating me, I started fighting with these guards. And then they beat me harder, you know, with sticks and everything else. And they hit me so hard that I threw me unconscious. And then they were taking our clothes off. And they threw me unconscious on the back of a mountain of clothes there. And they picked me up, my friends picked me up and took me up to the circular. So, yeah, it was something that Fidel Castro, at that time, he wanted to, he said he didn't want them to take away the missiles, because he said, why don't you shoot the Americans? Why don't you shoot the United States? And then the Russians said no, and they just took them out. And I think we were very close, like we have been lately, to a world war, you know. First, you have to educate everybody well, you know. That you need to do. You have to educate your children. And in the United States right now, what is happening is that the leftists have taken over the universities and are changing people's minds. And I experienced that when I studied law, you know, and when I was studying jurisprudence. There were some professors there that were leftists, totally leftist. And they said things, you know, that were unbelievable. And I had arguments with them because, you know, I couldn't imagine that they would, but it's happening. So the first thing that you need to do is to teach people the truth. The truth is that communism doesn't work. It doesn't work. It's not for human beings, you know. And you know who understood that late in his life? Che Guevara. There is a book that just came out called the Cuadernos de Praga, done by a writer, Alex Pose, who was the Argentinian ambassador in the Czech Republic when Fidel Castro was in Prague. When Fidel Castro, when Che Guevara was in Prague. When Che Guevara came from Congo, he did very badly there. He stopped in Cairo, Egypt. So when he was in Cairo, he was invited by the Soviet ambassador to participate in a party there that they had at the embassy. And he had an argument with the Soviet ambassador and hit him and knocked him down. So then, from there, the Soviets told Fidel Castro that they had to get rid of Che Guevara, otherwise they wouldn't give him any more help. No more oil, no more money, nothing. They would not give him help. But they had to get rid of Che Guevara. So then Fidel Castro made Che Guevara write that letter where he renounced to everything, and he said that he was going to, you know, do all the things, and he talked about the new man, that he was going to continue his work, but not in Cuba. He renounced all of the things in Cuba. But in the Cuadernos de Praga, where they were written, Che Guevara always kept a diary of his life. So in these scripts that this Alex Pose, the ambassador, he was also Argentinian, got together and published not so long ago, is where the true mentality of Che Guevara is. He said there that communism, it doesn't work. It's just crumbling. This is something that is going to disappear. This is not working.
Pedro Fuentes Cid a studiat dreptul diplomatic și consular la Havana și Paris. Din 1989 a practicat avocatura în Florida. În tot acest timp s-a dedicat cauzei cubaneze, a sprijinit mișcările dizidente și a oferit ajutor financiar și moral foștilor deținuți politic din Cuba. Din 2002 este purtătorul de cuvânt al Asociației Deținuților Politic Cubanezi. O vreme, teroarea regimului îi ține pe oameni liniștiți, dar în adâncul inimilor se găsește altceva. Și tocmai de acest altceva ar trebui să se teamă toți dictatorii, ne spune Pedro Fuentes Cid. Fidel Castro a rămas la putere până în 2006, atunci când, bolnav, i-a cedat puterea fratelui său, Raúl Castro. 10 ani mai târziu, în 2016, murea la Havana. Embargoul economic, comercial și financiar american este încă în vigoare și astăzi. China și Rusia sunt și acum principalii parteneri comerciali ai Cubei.
Russia today, okay, is just a nation of oligarchs. That's it. They have the biggest yachts in the world. You know, all these people, all these oligarchs that are governing, it's another mafia. Another mafia. When the Soviet Union crumbled, then all these people from the KGB were the ones that had all the connections in the world, and they were the head of the businesses that they had in the world, you know, and then they took cover. They have all these yachts, and they own land everywhere, and they own, you know, they own a lot of things. In Czech Republic right now, in Karlovy Vary, it's a beautiful place that full of springs with medicinal water and everything else. They have a private airport. And then they land their planes there, their private planes, you know, and then they have bought the whole town. They bought all the buildings and everything that are theirs. In the strength of the Cuban people and their will to make Cuba free. And you can see that the youth is losing fear, which was what was keeping them away from doing things. People are losing fear. And the fear now is in the hands of the government. They are now afraid because they know that they will not last long. That the people of Cuba are going to take over and they're going to make Cuba free, finally. Very optimistic. Okay. Yes, definitely. Definitely, because I see the changes that are coming, you know, the changes in the people. All these people that they shot, all these people that they kept in jail, was to seed terror with the others. But now people have lost fear. Of course, the government of Raúl Castro, after Fidel Castro died, has not been as harsh. But right now, they approved a new penal code, making it harsher to start fomenting terror. But you know what? The youth doesn't care. People that are getting money from families living outside can more or less make it. But the people that don't have any families outside are the poorest people in Cuba, which is the majority, it's the 90% of the population. They are going hungry. They are dying because they don't have medicines. Their children are you know, you see them skinny and sad because they don't have any toys to play with. There are people, like 6 or 7 families living in the same house. 2 families living in the same room. No clothes, you know. Horrible, horrible. It's like you have to go there to experience it. And now you see all these things that are happening. You saw that they had this big fire in Matanzas, and all these oil tanks started burning and exploding and everything else. There was a hotel that exploded. There was fires in other places. fires in hotels, fires in cigar, things, and things are really starting to boil everywhere.
Atât pentru astăzi, pe săptămâna viitoare.